Good morning, brothers and sisters. How are y'all today? Good? So, what is today's topic? No topic. Ajahn Chah has this book, No Ajahn Chah. I was asking Brother Vincent earlier when I was having the lunch offering in the room. I was asking him whether he can remember the topic of my last talk, which was several months ago. It almost felt like I was putting him on a spot, but I was not. So I quickly told him, well, because I can't remember as well. But today I want to share with you about Anatta. Have I shared with you about Anatta before? No, huh? Yeah. But I'm sure many people have shared with you about Anatta. How many of you have heard about the term Anatta? Oh, a handful. Okay. The word Anatta in Japanese means you. Yeah, but today we're not going to talk about that one. It so happened that it's the same pronunciation, and probably, depending on how you want to write it, huh? Anatta. Anatta wa so and so desu. Yeah. But the word anatta in Buddhism, in Pali, it means many things. One of the translation is no self. Venerable Thanissaro Bhikkhu and a few other venerables, they have written a lot about this term. And a lot of them had pointed out that it shouldn't be no self. It should be not self. Yeah. If you look at the Buddha's teaching, he would often ask the monks, the nuns, he would ask his disciples, he would ask everybody this question: is form permanent or impermanent? And how would they reply? Permanent. Impermanent. Is form which is impermanent subject to change? Yeah, meaning that is form, physical form, that is impermanent, will it change? Yeah? Is it likely to change? Will it be able to not to change? No, it will change. Then the Buddha would further ask, is form which is impermanent and subject to change subject to suffering? Is something like that likely to give rise to suffering? Yeah. Can it give rise to suffering? Will it give rise to suffering? And they would answer, yes. It is subject to suffering. And then the Buddha would conclude and say, now form which is impermanent, subject to change, subject to suffering, is it worthwhile? That's the question. Is it fitting for you to consider it as mine, me, or myself? And the answer is no. Yeah. And there's no further explanation in most of the sutras. No further explanation why that is not fit. Yeah. In various other texts, there's a lot of explanation. But sometimes the best explanation is found in the teachings of those who are not the Buddha's disciple, where they establish that there is a self. Yeah. They would posit that the self is within this physical body, or the self is within the feelings, the bodily and mental feelings, the sensations, the experience of this world. Yeah, or they will posit that it is in the perception that we have of this world, or they posit that it is within the thinking that arises, the intentions, and so on. Or they will posit that it is within the consciousness. Or they will posit that there is a self apart from these five things, how we call the five khandhas or skandhas. or English translation often termed as the 5 aggregates. And they will posit all manners. Yeah? And within that, then the Buddha would ask, okay, what is the nature of the self? And they would give many different explanations. And all this can be summarized into that it is something, the self, okay? The self is something that is permanent, unchanging, and autonomous. It's able to determine its own fate. Yeah? It's in control. Something like that, you say this is self, this is me, this is I, this is soul, this is Atman. Yeah. This is the classical approach to teaching no self. Yeah? Or as some of the Venerables would say, not self. Yeah? Because of the way the question is asked. Yeah? Is this self? No. Is this self? No. Is that self? No. So, not self. None of this is self. But the conclusion is that since you cannot find anything that is self, so there's no self. So is there a self out there sitting, listening to me? Is there anyone here sitting here? Yes. So we proved the Buddha wrong. Let's call for the 7th council. On Friday, I was at SBF conducting the year 2 class and sharing on the Heart Sutra. So towards the end, I gave them a homework. Yeah. So I was sharing with them about how all things are dependent arising and are empty of any permanent, inherent, substantial nature. So the various examples I gave them, and they were all left very convinced and confused. So I told them, the challenge is, it's just like when you learn mathematics. The teachers give you some examples and show you some working to help you understand the principle. The job of the student is to go back and try the different approaches, yeah, and see whether that principle can be applied across the board. So I challenged them and I told them, go back and see if you can find something that is actually inherent, yeah, that is permanent, that is unchanging. If you can find that thing, come back to us, report to us, and then we run through a few rounds to make sure that it's correct. Then we can call for the 7th council, and we can announce to all the Buddhist communities throughout the whole world and say, Venerable Sir, Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni Sangha, the lay community, we are pleased to call for the 7th council in Singapore. But we must make sure that it's correct. Because if we get everybody in, and then it turned out that it's wrong. And this is the approach in Buddhism. It is not simply a dogma or doctrine that we just take and we accept. When the Buddha makes such a statement, that all things that is conditioned is impermanent, well, that's easy to understand and accept. Yeah? But then as he moved forward in the argument, and then he established that, well, in that case, there's no self. Can we agree with that? Not so easy, huh? So, I was asked just now whether I need PowerPoint slide. Actually, I was hoping that you all have writing materials also, but I didn't tell them in advance. So you all write in your mental paper, okay? This is a very simple exercise. And hopefully, it may give you an appreciation of no self, or whatever is there. So, if I ask you the question, who are you? Okay? Who are you? Or what are you? And so instead of going at the conclusion that there's no self, let's look at what is self. Yeah? When you say I, what is the I? So if I were to rephrase this question, what is I? Then I basically say, who are you? What are you? Yeah? Make sense? Yeah. So if I were to ask him, who are you? What is your answer? Yeah, this usually happens about midway through a talk. You know, people start to question themselves. Who am I? So who are you?
They call me Jerry. In other place they call me another name. So it depends on which place I meet.
So you're a person of many names.
I mean names are just names.
Yes. So Brother Jerry is called Brother Jerry here. Yeah.
In my workplace they call me
Han Chen.
So maybe in my house they call me the Chinese name.
Yes. So Aseng. Now. So a few minutes ago, you didn't know that he's Aseng. So now you know that he's also Aseng. Has he become fatter? Has he increased? Yet he didn't increase, isn't it? Yeah. We say that is just a label. Yeah? The name is just a label. So whether it's Aseng, Jerry, Han Chen, and so on, all this is part of who he is. That being the case, most of us only know a part of who he is. But is it lesser or more? Think about it first. What else is he? We can use other people as an example, but he was quite convenient and cooperative as well. Yeah. So what else are you? And while he's answering, I want you to think about yourself, okay? So in each and every one of you, then you ask yourself, who am I? Okay, then first of all, your name. Then besides that, what are you? Okay, he's a man. Okay? Look like a man. Yeah? The last we checked, he looked like a man. Okay? Yeah. Okay, just so hold that thought first. So he's Han Chen, he's Jerry, and so on, and he's a man. What else is he? And we're going to run a bit faster to list out a collection first. Okay, so he's a man. What else? A volunteer. A manish volunteer. A family man. Okay. What else? Let's come up with maybe 2 or 3 more. Okay, then we will dissect that. What else? So at work, what are you? Are you a family man at work?
With staff, so they address me as my boss. They call me another name.
Boss. Okay, so now we know he's the boss. Okay. Yeah, so he's many things. So as you can see, he's many things. Likewise, all of us are many things. We can call all these things, and of course he's a father. Are you father? You're a father. You're also a son. You're also a brother. Do you have any siblings?
Yes.
So he's also a brother to his siblings. He's also a nephew to his uncle. He's also a cousin. He's not a niece. Yeah. Yeah. So all this is what we could, for the sake of this discussion, let's call this the different roles that he played. Okay? Yeah, the different roles that he played. And so likewise, all of us have different roles. Now, are your children here today? No. So in this room, at this point in time, is he a father? How many of you would think that he's a father? How many of you think that he's not a father at this point in time? Is your wife here today? How many of you have no idea what I'm talking about? A few times when individuals come to see me for counseling, I would do this exercise with them. And I actually have a piece of worksheet where they write their name, and I have it all with bubbles and lines. and I will ask them to fill up the blanks. It's basically to get them to start looking at themselves, yeah, and then asking the simple question, who am I? Yeah. So instead of going in from the no self and then try to establish that there's no self, okay, what is the self really? So using Jerry as an example, all these roles that he has, and we then look at the particular role, father. Now, within this room, we are not about to strip him of his fatherhood. Yeah, but within this room, he don't function as a father. Yeah, he may be like a fatherly figure to some, okay, but he cannot function fully as a father within this room. Agree? Why? Huh? Not in that role. Why is he not in that role? Oh, another big title. No wonder he has to shave his head. Then he can put many hats. Okay. What else? What? Huh? Exactly. Because his children is not around. Even if he's the president of Singapore, if his children is around, he's still the father. Yeah. But of course, if he's actively playing the role of the deputy president of the Buddhist fellowship, then he cannot, in a way, he cannot simultaneously play both roles. Yeah. But as far as today is concerned, because his children is not around, very good. Yeah. In some cases, it's because of other roles. Yeah. But in this case, because his children are not around, so that function ceases to exist. So as far as today is concerned, he's not a father at this point in time. Agree? Yeah. Yes. The moment he bring his children to mind, then he start to act like a father again. So one moment father, one moment not father. One moment father, no one moment father. When he's sleeping, is he acting like a father? He sleep in a fatherly figure. When he eat, does he eat in a fatherly way? Is there a fatherly way that we eat? No. Yeah. There are many things that we do throughout our whole life that doesn't have much inkling with certain roles. Yeah. But it doesn't change the conventional relationship that he has with his children. Whether his children are around or not, in name, by law, conventionally, he's the father. But as far as the function of a father is concerned, he don't play it all the time. Not that he's a bad father, okay? As far as I can see, he's a good father. Huh? Say yes. Yes. Oh, where's your wife? Which one is your wife? Which one? Raise your hand. Where's the wife? Okay. Good husband or not? Say yes. Oh, go back, 桂香. So, using this as an example, what do we see? First of all, while we play different roles, the roles don't persist. Yeah. Even though by convention, once our children are born, we are their father until the day we pass away. Yeah. But yet, throughout this whole duration, that role just pop in and out. Yeah. Pop in and out. Secondly, from the time when his child is born, his role as a father has changed. Yeah. Has changed. And will continue to change until the very last day of his life. Yeah. When his child was 1 month old, his role as a father, would you say that it's the same or different from now? How old are your children?
Youngest 24, eldest I think 30.
Not so sure. 今晚桂香. Next time we better coordinate first. I'll give you a list of the questions I'm going to ask. Yeah, so, oh dear, it's so funny, I lose my train of thought. So, because of the changes, So even the role of fatherhood has changed. Yeah, when your child is 1 month old, 5 month old, 1 year old, your child need a certain kind of father to support the growth. Yeah, but at this point in time, so where are your children? Why are they not here? Okay. skip. Yeah. Okay. It's okay.
They got activities. The eldest son married. The second one, NTU they got activities.
Okay.
SCM, they got some seminar there. The eldest one, I think,
Lazy to come. Okay. Never mind. It's okay. Tell them, Sifu ask them, come. Yeah. So, in this case, let's come back to the happy place. So, if he were to continue to treat them like when they were 5 years old or 10 years old, yeah, precisely because they are no longer 5 or 10 years old, so he cannot simply demand that you must come. But if he were to continue to treat them like when he was a father to a 5-year-old, then can his children, who is already 20 plus year old, grow or mature? They can't. Yeah. So even though the name of the role, so we have the name of the person, then the name of his role as a father, which is a name by itself, the name is the same, but the essence, the function has changed also. Yeah. So although we just conveniently call it father, but actually it's not a permanent father, not an unchanging father. You see you see what's happening here? Yeah. None of these roles actually persist or stay still or be permanent. It's not permanent. Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes we get so used to it, then we find it hard to change. Yeah. Initially, when we are exposed to the role, we may find it difficult to get into the role. Yeah. But once we get used to it, that's where the clinging comes in. The attachment comes in. I'm the father in this way. I'm the mother in this way. And so sometimes, for some cases, when the child has grown up, the parent or child or the parent may still not be used to this new form of motherhood or fatherhood. Then what will happen? There'll be conflict. There'll be a lot of friction. So when the Buddha talked about no self, he was not merely talking about some metaphysical concept. Yeah? It must have an application. And it is to lead towards this realization that even the very identity that we call identity is not an identity. It's an ever-changing, transient state of relationships, if you will, that is constantly undergoing change. So you can call it no self or not self. Yeah? But the fact is that when there are conditions, those roles arise. Yeah? Some people refuse those roles. That's our personal choice. Yeah? But beyond the roles that we have, I want you to take a step back and look at all the roles that we have or he have. Can we define him simply by any of the roles? Can we define him simply by any of the roles? Not really, isn't it? Or can we? Partially, perhaps. As far as his staff is concerned, he's just boss. This is the bell to tell me my role as a speaker is about to end. Yes, I purposely set an alarm. Okay, snooze. Okay. So, of all the roles that he has, or we all have, collectively, then we call that Jerry. Yeah, collectively we call it boss, collectively and so on. But for some individuals, they may only see certain roles about him. Yeah, but can we say that that's everything he is? Not really, isn't it? Yeah, there are so many different roles. Yeah, but at the same time, some people sometimes in their life, we get so preoccupied with certain roles, we forget about the other roles. Yeah. Sometimes we may neglect certain roles. Yeah. While we say that we cannot play all the roles at the same time all the time, yeah, but it's sort of like, okay, there must be some balance. If a person identifies so strongly with work and see work as all he is, or I'm a manager, I'm an engineer, I'm a teacher, I'm a staff, I'm this or that, or I'm a boss, yeah, then what will happen? It may neglect the other roles, yeah. There was one time, one devotee was fetching me, and the children were in his car, and then we were talking about something like that. Yeah, and then the point came out that sometimes, for those parents who are working, when they come back home, they bring their roles back as well. So especially for those who are the boss. No, probably not Jerry, huh? Yeah, but it's what we call 职业病. Yeah, 职业病. There's an English expression. To a hammer, everything is a nail. Yeah. To a doctor, everyone is a patient. Yeah. So it's easy that when we play a role too well and too frequently, then it spills over, for better or worse. Unfortunately, when it supersedes and overwhelms other roles, then we may find ourselves not playing other roles that well. Can you imagine if your parents were to sort of like sit down with you and say, okay, let's look at this week's KPI? Yeah. And then, okay, this Sunday, please turn up for the monthly meeting. We're going to look at our P&L for this month. Yeah. Next month, we need to make some adjustments. It'd be quite kind of sad, huh? Yeah. But at the same time, if the person were to bring certain roles from home over to work, yeah, there's this saying, at home, think about work. At work, think about home. Overseas, think about Singapore. In Singapore, think about going for a tour. Yeah, we're never quite ready to play the role at this moment. And because of that, we think about roles that we have played in the past and then miss them, or have regrets over those roles that we maybe didn't play that well. The fact is that the role conditions for those roles are already over. No matter how much you regret, you cannot replay those roles. Yeah. At the same time, it doesn't mean simply just bochap. But it means that, okay, clearly seeing that when certain roles are present, that's what we did. In future, when such conditions present itself, how should we play those roles again? Yeah. So this, to me, the teaching on no self is not simply saying, oh, nothing matters, I'm nobody, there's no you, there's no me, and then, okay, bye-bye. But really saying, there's no fixed role, there's no fixed me that you can say this is who you are. To me, this is very liberating. It frees us from our attachment, frees us from our conventional boxing in, and allows us to always be ready for whatever presents itself to us, and say, what is the conditions now? What are the conditions now? And what role can I play? The roles that he has listed is not exhaustive. Yeah? But even if we list out all the roles that he currently have, we must realize that there are other roles that he has not played before, that he can potentially play. Take, for example, the role of Deputy President. When did you take up this position? Last year. So 2 years ago, you were not Deputy President. Have you ever been Deputy President of the club, not club, Society of Buddhist Fellowship? No. If he were to say, 2 years ago, this is all I am, then when he's being nominated or entrusted with this duty, then he'll be like, no, I can't do it. I never do it before. But if we recognize that, no, there's no fixed Jerry. Jerry can be this, can be that. Then it can give him that courage to say, hey, let me explore, let me try. And then ask yourself, with each role, what are the conditions required? Yeah? Then you can be anything. You can be a monk sitting here. No, it's true. You just have to shave your head and then go and take the precepts, and then you can become a monk or nun. Yeah, this is to me, this is a very key, important takeaway of the Buddha's teaching, that we don't have a fixed, permanent, unchanging role. Now, for many people, that's quite frightening. For many people, then it's like, so what do I do now? Yeah. It is similar to the question, what is the purpose of our life? To say that there's no self seems to negate any purpose in life. But to me, it's not. It just means that there's no fixed purpose in life. Whatever purpose there is in our life, or role for that matter, it is up to us to determine. And if you are like me, and if you want happiness, then you've got to ask yourself, at any point in time, what are the conditions present? And what role would be best played to bring about the most welfare and benefit for ourselves and others? Soon, this role will cease to exist. If I continue talking, then you all will suffer because it's almost time for lunch. Thank you very much.
Shall we say sadhu 3 times? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I don't know whether, Venerable, you can allow them to have some Q&A, maybe 2? Okay. So, short and sweet. Question.
Yeah, thank you, Venerable. Quite a straightforward question. Anatta, non-self. Then we have a rebirth. Then we have karma. Okay, so if there's no self, then it doesn't matter what karma we have now, because when we are born into the next life, it's not ourself again, see? So there's some little bit of controversy.
Very good question. So if there's no self, then no problem. Yeah, future life, someone else is suffering. So I met a student yesterday. She works in KPMG at this point in time. Graduated last year. So in her WhatsApp, she posted this picture of herself when she was a little girl carrying a lantern. So then the night before evening, I messaged her to confirm the meeting. Then I asked her, I say, leave you a food for thought. I said, where is that girl now? Where is that girl in the picture now? Do you all have photos of your childhood? Those who don't have, see me after this. You need some counseling. Yeah. No, but a certain generation and above, people don't take so much photos. Yeah. Back then, the 32 realm, Yeah, wow, precious. If you look at the photos of ourselves in the past, where is that person now? Is that person, that young boy or girl, still around? Not around anymore. Is that person in any way the same as us? Not the same, isn't it? Yet, the actions of that boy or girl, for the most part, would have shaped many experiences of ours today. If the boy or girl was very mischievous and climbed up and down, pop, 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 then blind themselves, you today is blind. Yeah. So while you today is quite different from that boy or girl in the past, yeah, this present I or self or role is pretty much shaped by what happened in the past as well. If we cannot even get over this life, yeah, that means make sense of this relationship, we don't have to worry about the future life, but yeah. But the question still holds, yeah. And so the question still holds that seems to have a bit of a gap, huh? This life, yeah, agree in principle, but still we may say, but that's me, ma. You know, that's me. But if you were to factually show anyone that photo and yourself, you cannot say that it's the same person. Yeah? Physically, no cells have remained, unless we are very young. Mentally, emotionally, is there any more remnants? No. The only thing we can vaguely say is our memory. Our memory is the only thing that strings the whole sequence of experiences that we have had so far together, to give it a common identity. Our memory is the only thing that strings everything together. Yeah.
Question, brother.
Next slide.
Next one, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Venerable. I want to ask, so how does can you explain how the realization of anatta can lead us to our liberation?
So when we talk about liberation, I often ask people this question. What does it mean to be liberated? A long time ago, I used to think that you sit there and then you meditate, and one day, you know, and then you see the light, yeah, and then you just start floating on the ground, and you. As I learn more and more about the Dharma, and then do more practice, then I realized that liberation is not a Hollywood movie. Yeah, you don't get the kind of sparks and pyrotechnics and stuff. Then I realized that it's even more important. It makes it even more important to have a grounded understanding or clarity of what enlightenment is. To know what enlightenment is, we need to look at what enlightenment is not. What is not enlightenment? It is when as we mentioned just now about the roles, if we were to hold on to certain roles, yeah, even when conditions have changed, what will happen? What will happen? You have suffering. You have conflict with people. You feel uneasy. Yeah? Take for example, Jerry. His role as the boss. Yeah? Does he worry about his role as a boss? Yes and no, maybe. Yeah. If you say no, rubbish. If you say yes, also not really, because like in this 1 hour, is he worrying about his role? Not really also. Yeah? Or are you worrying? Not present moment. Not worrying, huh? So, where we are, being unenlightened, the roles have an impact on us. Yeah, because we hold on to this role, we're afraid of things happening to the roles. Yeah, as an unenlightened monk, I can only say and tell you that start looking at this point. As we move away from this way of living, then we stop holding on, clinging on, and being so affected by these roles. It doesn't mean don't care about the role. Yeah. Oftentimes we have devotees asking me, let go. But how to let go? Yeah, let go. But I still have my mother, my father, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my this, my work. Yeah. Then should I? That means I don't care about anything. Let go. Most people, if you let go, then you don't care. Yeah. If you don't let go, then you care. If you care, then you are attached. These are the two extremes. In Buddhism, you let go but still care. 放下不是放弃. Yeah. So, the realization of no self, to me, frees us from all the worries and anxieties and that comes with uncertainty of life.
Okay, it's past 12. I don't know whether we can allow one question. One more, last question.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yes. So he's no longer. If let's say Jerry has dementia, then to us he seems to still be Jerry, but he cannot function as Jerry anymore. That's why yeah, exactly. That's why I was saying that the only thing that threads our experiences together is really just our memories. So then how should we live our life, Yeah. How should we be living our life? Sometimes when we have conflict with others, when we are in a situation that we feel compelled, we must we must do this. Maybe we should challenge ourselves and take a step back and say, what other roles are available to us? While our memories thread all these experiences together and seem to define a fixed entity that we call Jerry, we call Shifu, we call this and that. But it doesn't mean that we must continue to hold on and then must continue to act in this way. Oh, in the past, if this person do this, I get angry. So that's why this is my character, this is my style. Yeah. So you don't do this. Why not? Yeah. If we can step beyond the rigid identity of the roles, then we can get liberated here and now. We don't have to wait until next life. Here and now. There will always be this question, how about rebirth? Is there rebirth? I often ask people, is there Andromeda galaxy out there? We don't know. Scientists tell us that there is. They show us pictures. But how many of us have verified with the Hubble telescope? You know what I'm saying? Yeah? Yes. The Buddha has shared with us what he saw for himself. His monks and nuns who were arahants has verified. The Buddha didn't just leave us with a conclusion without a way to verify the conclusion. The way to verify all his teachings is found in the path. Only through practicing the path can we verify the authenticity of his teachings. Yeah, and through this verification, then we'll be liberated from our worry, from our stress, from the tribulations of life. And now, my role has come to an end. Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu, sadhu.